morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always, told out of Voice Radio, and today I want to show you a ridiculously rare Mewtwo card. And when I say ridiculously rare, I mean ridiculously rare. I mean like there are only going to be 300 of these ever made and produced. That is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. They're Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a very popular Pokemon. They're rainbow rares, which make them shiny and fun and great looking. And there's only going to be 300 of these actually made. Make no mistake about it, these are going to be super rare, super expensive Mewtwo. Okay, so before we get too deep into it, what actually are these Mewtwo? Well, it is the rainbow rare version, or hyper rare as they're called in Japan. And they are the hyper rare versions of the family GX Mewtwo that we saw previously. Now, this is actually confirmed as coming out in Hidden Fates over here. That's going to be coming out, well, there's no real release date per se, but the first product with Hidden Fates in, because remember, Hidden Fates it's not a set in and of itself, it's a series of collections with their own boosters in. You can't just go and buy booster packs or booster boxes. But it's essentially being released on the 23rd of August. And it was released as a family deck over in Japan. There were 6 of these, and they're really simple beginner GXs. 110 for free energy, 120 and discard all energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. They're fine. It's designed for newer players. And it's pretty straightforward. That's what it does, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it does. So, do we really want the Rainbow Rare? As a card, it's fairly uninspiring. I like that you can discard all energy from your opponent's active, in a Malamar deck and all of that, but no. We don't need this. It's not as good as the other Mewtwo GX. Or the other Mewtwo GX. But look how rare it is. Now, incidentally, they did do this before. They did this last year with the Rainbow Rare version of Zekrom GX, which incidentally was also not terribly playable. Could this be a yearly thing? Maybe. So how do you go about getting one of these then? You have to win a tournament. None of this top cutting, none of this making the final malarkey. You get one of these by winning a tournament, going along and being the last person standing. And there are going to be tournaments all over the country, starting on Friday, July the 5th, that is this coming Friday, 2 days from when this video is uploaded, assuming something doesn't happen to switch the order round, until Sunday, September the 1st. So they're literally going to be running all through the summer, through July and August. And they're actually sealed tournaments. So what you do is you get 15 packs of Remix Bout, the set that's just come out in Japan. As of today, there are a couple cards that I've yet to analyze. Tomorrow I will have gone through the whole set. So you get 15 packs of that, and you make 40 card decks, and you get 4 prizes, and like in a pre-release, the energy is provided. It is indeed very, very much like a pre-release. Now, when I say 15 packs, this does need to be taken in the context of they are Japanese packs. So, yes, you do get 15 packs, but they only actually have 5 cards per pack rather than 10, so it's kind of the equivalent of 7.5 packs. Still very much more than what you get when you go to a pre-release outside of Japan. But then again, when you go to a pre-release outside of Japan, you get those little pre-made decks of evolution lines, supporters, etc. Would that make all the decks in Japan too similar? I don't rightly know. And we're going to look at this in a little bit at the end, but does that mean people are going to do the whole, I'm playing Blastoise and Piplup and 39 energy? And are those decks going to win? The good news is, we'll get to this in a second, but the first one of these is actually being streamed at the weekend, so we will be able to see how people deal with Remix Bout. Now, these are not the easiest tournaments to actually get into. You must register in advance, but you can only register for one tournament in advance. It has to be done online, and it is first come, first served. Now, they do say on the site, and I should give shout-outs here to the lovely Primal Lugia and the lovely David Hockman, who helped me make sense of the Japanese websites and announcements and all of that for this. And you can turn up on the day if you like, but you're very much trying your luck. You might get lucky. You might not get lucky. But you got to register in advance, and you can only register for one, unless you want to rock up and try your luck. Now, they're actually run as 32-people tournaments, although sometimes they will literally double up and do 64-person tournaments. And they are run as round-robin tournaments. That is to say, there are 4 people in your pod, and you play the other 3 people. Everybody plays everyone, which means you could end up in a weird situation, and there will be a few of these, where somebody's gone 2-0 and someone else has gone 0-2, and then they've got to play off in the 3rd round. One person from each of those 4-people pods will end up in the top 8, or top 16 if you're going 64-person. And I think it's probably fair to assume that a 2-0 will probably beat an 0-2. But you never know, ladies and gentlemen, you never know. And then those 8 people go into a single elimination tournament to decide the winner. And these are played as 25-minute single game rounds. So if you don't make top 8, 3 25-minute rounds, that's it, that's your entire tournament. That's not long, ladies and gentlemen. Although there is an argument for nice short, sharp tournaments, especially if your deck isn't going quite as well as you might like. So to recap then, you get 15 packs, which really ends up as 75 cards. You make a 40-card deck with 4 prizes. The energy is provided. You play 25 minutes single round. It is a 4-person pod played round robin, with a top 8 competing for the hyper rare Mewtwo. Now, there are other promos that you can get by turning up to these tournaments. If you find yourself in the top 4, you end up getting the super rare, secret rare, really the full art of the Mewtwo. So again, the full art isn't available anywhere else either, it's just here. And you've got to make top 4 to get yourself one of these Mewtwo. Now, to be fair, if there are 300 of the rainbow rare, and they're given to the winners, and these are only being given to the top 4, one would assume that means that there will be only 1,200 of these. So even making it into the top 4 and getting one of these is still going to give you a really rare, really valuable card. Again, these aren't playable cards. These Mewtwo, they're not good. People are not going to want them for their deck. These are cards which are essentially going to exist for the collectability factor. But the good news is, even if you have a bad day and everything's going wrong and you do not have a good day, you still get yourself an Erica. Now, I did do a video about Erica. I'll pop a link in the description. Essentially, it's going to ruin the unlimited format. Do check the video on that one. And what it essentially does is it is exactly the same as the old Erica. You may draw up to 3 cards, and then your opponent may draw up to 3 cards. That's it. But it's been reprinted as a supporter rather than essentially an item, which is how it's ruined expanded. It's cool. It's nice to get as a participation thing. So as long as you get a spot on one of the tournaments, you can have one of these. Now, the good news is the first one of these tournaments is going to be streamed at the weekend. And it's basically involving 8 people. And there's a fighting game pro gamer. There is a Tokyo Quiz King, a video creator, a voice actor, an all-rounder of the TCG world, which I'd like to think is where I'm getting at with Wassy Plays, youtube.com/Wassy Plays, and former world champion Shintaro Ito, who did go and win Worlds with Mega Ordino a couple of years ago. I don't know who the other 7 are, but my money is on Ito for that particular tournament. Now, in terms of what these decks are going to look like, they're just made with Remix Bout, and I have now, other than 4 cards which aren't terribly good, you'll see them tomorrow. I've shown you the whole set, so it's going to be really interesting to see what actually comes out on top. Are we just going to see a whole bunch of people who pull Tag Team GXs going for it? Because that's what happens a lot in tournaments in the UK, US, Europe, etc., people just go and pull a tag team GX and play that with like 39 energy and maybe a couple of trainers, and those decks are kind of boring. Although what is really cool is that there is a proper rock, paper, scissors going on in terms of the tag team GXs, in that Blastoise and Piplup is hitting weakness against Charizard and Braixen, Charizard and Braixen is hitting weakness on Venusaur and Snivy, and Venusaur and Snivy is hitting weakness on Blastoise and Piplup, which is kind of cool. For my money, I think Blastoise and Piplup. If you really want to do that thing, you want to do Blastoise and Piplup, because the first attack does 150, and you can attach energy from your hand, and then you heal 50 for each one you attached. So if you're playing it with 39 energy, you'll actually get a huge amount of healing while hitting 150 per turn. Obviously, Venusaur and Snivy could be an issue for this. Yeah, it will be a bit of an issue. So maybe you don't just play this, but yeah. Also, incidentally, Emboar, if you can pull the whole evolution line, will be amazing in this format, because when you evolve it up, you look at the top 8 cards of your deck, attach as much basic energy as you like to your Pokemon, and then you're hitting 160 for 4 energy. That's pretty cool, ladies and gentlemen. I will be in the next few days bringing you my top 10 from Remix Bout, and I think you need to pay particular attention to that one, because of course it's going to be what informs these tournaments in Japan. I desperately want to play in one of these tournaments, but the fact of the matter is I don't think I'll be able to register through the Japanese site, and even if I can, and this is a really important point for me personally, I'm not in Japan right now. But tell me these tournaments don't sound amazing, and tell me you don't want one of these Rainbow Rare Mewtwo's, and I will call you a bit of a liar. But I would very much like to know what you think about all of this, whether you'd play in this tournament, what you think's going to win those tournaments, etc. Whether you want to see these outside of Japan. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.